and marketing update, followed by parking lot. Not parking lot, but backlog. All right, so from a roadmap perspective, and I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it's like the March 23rd or something like that is supposed to be the GA date for MicroProfile 1.4. I don't think that's a hard date. I think Kevin kind of put that in. It's a little bit flexible, and then we still have MicroProfile 2.0 scheduled for the first half of this calendar year, right? So as it relates to 1.4, I created a document I think some of you have seen that tries to lay out just the approach to create code examples, and I saw that the thread had actually extended into, which is very good by the way, into, hey, how do we also want to lay out the example repository, right? And I wish, is it Arjan, or I can't remember, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name. Ariane, thank you. Ariane mentioned that, hey, maybe we should lay it out like the example repo, the existing Java EE example repo. And I guess my first question would be, in that context, do we want to have a repo per example or just one repo with all the examples? So anyway, let me see if I can find, I apologize, I don't have it here right in front of me. I'd like to post in a link to the docs at google.com, a link to the current rough draft that I think people like the best in terms of the example template. And template, I think I got it here. And I think this is the more recent one. I think this is it here. All right. Sorry, maybe something's going on here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll post both of them. I kind of had two slightly different approaches. That's one. Okay, let me turn off my video real quick. And here is the second one. Yeah, I think the CDI one is the one that I got the best feedback on, so it'll be the first link that I posted. In fact, let me go back to that link. So folks kind of like the idea of, well, the overall layout. The biggest feedback is, how do we explain how to run the examples given the multiple runtimes that we have, right? That seems to kind of still be the outstanding issue. I think the biggest outstanding issue. Do we have a separate section within the doc or an appendix that shows it? I'm not sure if we'll be able, for all the examples, to point to an external document that covers every single example, right? Run every example this way. I just don't know if that's going to be the case or not.
For the conference app, we just used Maven profiles.
Yeah, we can continue that way, which means that every example will have to have a profile for a runtime, unless we have some kind of parent POM that just includes a profile that works for everything, and then we overwrite it for anything that's specific for maybe more complex scenarios. So what do you guys think about basically it's up to each implementation to update the example with a Maven profile? Kind of like the conference app. Is the conference app considered, do you guys think it's a successful approach? People just run -p and go with it?
I don't know what's working.
I didn't catch that. You broke up quite a bit there, David.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know that I can think of a better approach.
Yeah, I think it's been working.
Okay. All right. So I guess then the run the code example will simply say, well, Maven something run -p implementation. Right, so I'll have to go back and look at the, it's been a while since I've looked at the conference app. Go look at that and basically copy and paste something similar to the instructions that are there into each how-to. Okay, so we can do that. So I'll take a crack at that. What about the example repo layout? So if we have perhaps 10 or 20 examples, how-tos, then do we want to have one big repo that includes every single one in terms of source code, right? Or with a single parent palm, or do we want to basically let people download each individual how-to as its own repo? Any thoughts?
I have thoughts, but I always talk first, so I'll wait.
I think from the usability point of view, maybe it's like one repo, like we have done in the conference app, and demonstrate different aspects. It's like if gradually we have a lot of technologies, and then it's like we will have 20 like programming model, and eventually we create each individual repos. And another thing is like if we create one central repository, we can use the different subdirectories to build this app. And also like one app might be able to demonstrate like two very closely linked programming model, etc. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to it. If the samples get rather numerous, then you are replicating a large repo for, and you're only interested in one sample. But, I don't know. If you're looking at that what was it, EE7 or EE8 samples, the one that Arjan is kind of maintaining, that's huge too. And that just brings them all down, and then you just go into the directory that you want. So I think we just start until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, the one thing that bugs me about these large projects is the parent structure. And to figure out what's going on, I always have to go read a bunch of PALM files to figure out where certain settings are being pulled from. And as a learning aid, to me personally, again, it's a personal preference kind of thing, I often find that to be an inhibitor, where if each project had its own kind of complete encapsulated example, I know exactly what's going on. So that's my personal perspective, but it does cause a little bit more of a maintenance headache, right, as things change. So if there's, for example, a new implementation wants to come in, they're going to have to modify 20 repos, right, instead of one parent one.
And everyone is looking different at the end of the day. That's one of the downsides, right? So we have to maintain 20 repos. So we have to keep 20 repos up to date. We have to keep them in sync. At the end of the day, we will have 20 different flavors of the same stuff. Might be good or might be bad.
So for On the Tommy side of things, we have one repo, and for the reasons that John states, we don't allow parent poems. So every example has to be completely self-contained. So you could just copy that directory and use it as a starter project if you wanted to. So there's no complicated hierarchy of poems that all the important stuff is in the parent poem, and you got to have a big knot to undo.
Yep.
So, I would be fine with that compromise. I mean, it takes discipline. People will occasionally go, "Oh, these should have parent poems. That's broken. Parent poems are a good thing." And then we got to go kind of gently slap the hand and say, "That was intentional."
Well, if it's just version numbers or so, then it's fine because you don't have to duplicate all this stuff 20 times.
No exceptions. We just say no exceptions, because as soon as you start saying, well, this is okay, and this is okay, and this is okay, then it just becomes that mess that we're trying to avoid.
So why don't we maybe learn by doing? I've pasted one more link into the chat. This is the how-to developer guides. I would like people, even here live on the call, to begin updating what the use cases and kind of volunteers to create the use cases, right? And let's just start doing it, and folks can go in and begin creating their own use cases. Each POM will be standalone, and let's see how painful or not painful it is. Okay, I only saw one people join the document. I'm looking for people to start typing in and signing up for actually creating some use cases. So the idea basically is I have a topic. Actually, I probably should say spec. Then the use case description. So there might be multiple how-tos for a single spec, right? Multiple use cases for a single spec. In fact, let me change that. In fact, I'm going to say...
Yeah, to my experience, these things are basically the TCK test, but with a story.
Actually, I'm thinking...
Sorry, it's a... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically these things, because the TCKs themselves are good sources of examples because they have lots of things, but they're really flat and they're really compliant. They're really boring. So it's effectively the examples are like TCK test with a story.
Yeah,
right.
I think
okay, I can see that.
Yeah, along the similar lines, and I think in the past we discussed like what's the real usage of this MicroProfile programming model. So I think it's like maybe this is a great a place to collect the usage, like for the real customers or real end users, to like comment and say, oh, I use this MicroProfile config to solve this problem and such. So at least we know this is really useful programming model and people are adopting them. Because now it's like we defining programming model, and we are not very clear how many customers actually use a particular programming model and etc. Maybe this guide like is can have some area and to collect some real use case.
So there, I just threw it in an example. Right. So this is a simple how-to that just uses config. You can pull it from, we'll just use the default, so it works across all implementations, right? Properties, environmental variables, in a property file, and then just have some properties named the same and just show. I think I did that in the kind of the example how the order of precedence takes place, and I think like environmental variables override the property file or something like that.
I mean, I can think of examples, but I don't have time, so I certainly couldn't sign myself up for them.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what we're looking for. I understand. If anyone at Tommy Tribe has if you could sign anybody up, even if it's to do one or two.
yeah, well, so we're starting to do our implementation. So I will see if we can. I'll see if we can get someone to help out as that implementation work is being done. So I can't commit on the spot here, but I'll come back with some stuff.
Okay.
Is this going to be on the list?
The config stuff is done. So.
Yeah, it's just not integrated. That's all.
Well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The other thing is, I think David, you can go ahead to add the entries there because we attract certainly a lot of attentions from the Java community. Maybe I know some people contact me and then trying to help out. And if we create this kind of long list, and then people can put their name down and can help. This is a great area for someone, who has no experience to implement a stack, but they're really keen to contribute. Maybe it's like a good area for them to get started.
Okay, I'm going to add one more. I'm going to call it asset type for now. Here it's going to be how-to guide, and maybe we have a video on YouTube demonstrating it. All right, this is just an example. So I'm going to change the title here. MicroProfile 1.4 asset. Let's see, developer enablement asset tracking. Right, a how-to guide, a video, could be a blog entry. If it's a blog entry, I prefer it to kind of be well, we could talk about it, but like a more official one on the MicroProfile blog as opposed to individual blogs, although it could be, and it's debatable. Yeah, okay, YouTube. If there's ever a question, camel case. Okay, I tried not to there. Okay, so I'd like everyone to kind of begin filling this out and begin committing to how-to guides. If someone else wants to do config, please feel free to sign up. That was for example purposes only, but we'll see. I might try and take a crack at it. All right. So we agreed on. Let's see if has anyone been taking notes on this? No. So I'm going to do 1.4. Insert note. Let's see. Insert link to spreadsheet. I spelled it wrong. Sign up to deliver developer enablement assets. There, okay. Kevin, I before you joined, I just gave a brief update of the roadmap. That's normally kind of your section, but what I basically said, I think it's March 23rd-ish is the scheduled date for 1.4, and sometime in the first half is 2.0. Is there anything you wanted to comment around that?
No, I have not caught up with everything on the 2.0 discussion yet. I do know I don't see Andro on today. Is he on? Oh yeah, there he is. Yep. So it sounded like Andro was still pretty interested in trying to do a 2.0 update in first quarter, and I think I've read through the updates on that Google group, but I have not responded to them. But I know, like Andro, you asked, could someone else drive 2.0 if you wanted to get it done in first quarter, and that would be fine if you're interested in doing that.
Anyway, I'm more for the approach of we do it in the second quarter. So we keep this cadence going of having a deliverable every quarter. If we're having a hard time getting people to sign up for the how-to guides, I prefer not to divide our resources and try and do both at the same time.
Well, I know I even dropped that question, and I know I haven't gotten back to it yet. But like, how are we calling this a 1.4 update if there's no updates to any of the content?
Well, there are some folks that were interested in doing incremental updates. Originally, the thought was let's just focus on developer enablement and only do clarification type updates, right? TCK clarifications and stuff like that, or spec clarifications. But I think JWT is interested in doing an update. I think, Emily, I can't remember if you had another config update you were thinking about.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity.
Okay, that's great. Am I on mute? Can you hear me? Okay.
Nope.
No, I can hear you.
We're not on mute.
Okay, so it's config 1.2.1 has been released. So okay,
Yeah,
we
but
can.
I mean, what about an update like for 1.3 or JWT 1.1? Is there anything there that would add to a 1.4 content?
Yeah, I know OpenAPI is going to do a release, right?
Well,
Yeah.
they were talking about a TCK update again.
Yeah. So it's I'm not sure it's the scope, whether it's API and
In other words, I would ask if there is something new worth making a blog post about, because if it's just a very minor thing, then there's no. It's like it wasn't there. And coming back to your question, I hope that you can hear me now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was my microphone. Coming back to the 2.0 thing, I was just suggesting earlier in the emails that we could focus on this. We don't have to necessarily target first quarter, but also in the light that we don't have so much to deliver in 1.4 except for the guides, which is okay with me. That would be another thing we could deliver in the first quarter, and then we could skip 1.4 or maybe have 1.4 if there is something we could deliver there.
Yeah.
But we would have two options. We can still decide at the end of the first quarter what to go with. Maybe we don't even have anything because we will not finalize 2.0 and we won't have anything enough to deliver 1.4. And I think it's also okay if we decided to focus on user guides and improving usability. Then there's no point to deliver just because we want to deliver every 3 months.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of wondering, Andrew. I mean, for the 1.4 release, John, if we are only talking, and I shouldn't say only because I know it's a lot of work, but if we're talking about guides and samples and how-tos, that's not really a 1.4 release unless we actually do have additional content that we're going to add to it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. We're kind of in this interesting situation where I really do think we need to focus on developer enablement, but we've kind of been committing ourselves and provided this external messaging about having quarterly releases, right? And I don't know if I'm kind of painting myself into a corner or it's a complete non-issue if we don't have a formal 1.4 release this quarter.
Well, if we have any spec updates between now and then, I mean, that could potentially help with developer. Right. You know what I mean? So I can't say that all the specifications are perfectly clear everywhere and don't have any room for improvement, and that couldn't be a developer enablement activity that we could put some energy into, you know? So I think if we're going to spend time on examples, we should probably rally the troops around maybe fleshing out the specifications a little bit. And so there, you know,
in other words, if I get it right, maybe by writing the examples and guides, we will find some points that could be improved in the specifications and APIs.
I guarantee you will, Andrew.
But I'm not sure if we can then change something in the first quarter. So,
right,
that's the question. But there's a chance that there would be some easy improvements that we could qualify for a next release and easily make them.
It's basically 50 days in the future. We got plenty of time.
There's,
yes, but I would like to also address one point that was disturbing for me a bit, that we always set up a date for next MicroProfile umbrella version, and most of the specifications delivered just a couple of days before, and there was no time to really investigate how they fit together well or not. And we immediately released the MicroProfile next version. And I think that it's better if the specification isn't delivered like at least 2 weeks before the date, then we either move the release of MicroProfile 2 weeks later, or just completely skip that specification, because then we could end up in having incoherent specifications in an umbrella, and I don't think it's worth it.
I totally agree with that. I think what we've run into in the past is when we identify these umbrella releases, and then, you know, the other specifications kind of sign up for them. And then everyone looks at it and says, okay, what's my end date? And we all go for the same end date because it's at the end of the quarter and we have to line up with the Eclipse processes. And so I would fully agree, if we want to back up the individual specs, you know, whatever it is, either 2 or 4 weeks, I guess, depending on the Eclipse review, I think that would be worthwhile.
I mean, there's still motivation to do it in some time, but it doesn't have to catch the next MicroProfile release. It could be in the later release. Well, and implementations can still do things like we did in Payara, that we implemented MicroProfile 1 version, and then the config API, just the config API in the next version, but not complete MicroProfile. So implementations can decide to implement the specification, but some may decide to skip to a full MicroProfile release.
I know one thing that we just ran into was like with the REST client, and the REST client and the JWT propagation, they don't work real nice together because you can't easily propagate the JWT with the REST client stuff that we did. So there's an example where maybe if we would have gotten them done earlier to kind of see how they fit together, maybe we would have caught it earlier.
Another thing is that many implementations come after the spec is released, and they find some issues with the specifications. So,
well, could that be a target for spec clarification?
Well,
right,
definitely.
that we do as a part of 1.4, right, is basically let's fix that.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of, you know, whether or not that team was ready to step up to it yet. Yep, but yeah, perfect. Yep.
And we also discussed that it's okay to make some backwards incompatible changes because, well, that's the cost of that's the cost of speed.
Yeah, and basically, if something isn't part of the umbrella, it's easier to make backwards incompatible changes than if it gets there.
Yeah, another thing that I'm trying to say is like I think is Scott and Chunglong brought up the JWT. I think they are working towards another update. Maybe they will target for the 1.4 as well.
Are there meetings for that? I didn't see anything on the MicroProfile calendar.
I think there was a discussion on the mailing list. Yeah, it's A few weeks ago.
Okay.
The Scott asked, and then Chunlong responded, "Oh, this issue can be solved," and etc. And then silent is. Maybe you can ask on the mailing list what's the update for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we have things for that, then we would attend.
Yeah.
I made sure to attend all those meetings just because that was my favorite spec.
You sign up.
I love how my children equally is gone now. It's out the door.
No, I never loved all the children equally.
Okay, so let's maybe close this down a little bit and say I may have to go back and either from memory or go watch the recording again to record this in the notes because I'm not sure if everyone's taking notes. Let's get people to sign up for some kind of asset delivery, whether it's a video or a how-to, in terms of using the specifications. We agreed to kind of identify issues that need clarification within the spec or between specs, like the example that was given with JWT and the REST client, and get those clarified as a part of 1.4. Right. So again, it's not necessarily a big feature release, but it's definitely going to improve the experience. And then maybe what we do in a couple of weeks is we can revisit this, and based on any progress that's been made, adjust the decision. We all agreed on a separate repo for each how-to. Do we know?
I thought we agreed on one repo for all the how-tos, but they all have to have standalone poems.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So basically, we would have an Eclipse MicroProfile / let's say examples or how-tos, and then under there, if I check out, I'll get a complete download of all the examples, and each subdirectory will have its own POM with its own specific. I think that's okay.
What about the current MicroProfile samples repository? Do you think it can be reused for this, or does it make sense to have two different but very similar repositories?
Does it make sense to have two, but I haven't looked at the samples in ages.
I suggest to either delete it or just at least investigate what's there and if it can be reused. So I think it's no point to have.
Paste the link in the chat of the samples.
It contains basically CDI plus chucks.rs plus JSON.
Yeah, I think it's not much there.
Yeah, but it's kind of where we started with MicroProfile 1.0, and it's still a core of this stuff. Now we are adding our own specifications, but MicroProfile 1.0 is still valid unless we update to CDI 2.0 and Java EE 8 level, which is also still on the agenda. So the stuff in there in the samples project is not wrong.
Yeah, I didn't mean it's. I meant if it's in the shape we want to have the new repository. Maybe it can be rearranged to fit what we expect in the new repository, and then we could reuse what's already there.
Why not just reuse this repository and enhance it? I mean, we can change it. We can change the layout and stuff, but the actual content isn't that bad, I think.
All right, so let's take a look offline. Let's see, we're like almost 40 minutes in. Let's take a look at this offline and see if we want to use it. Thanks for posting the link, Andre. And, we have to decide what we want the directory structure to be. Do we want to do it, have, a folder for each spec, which then becomes a problem if we want to combine specs together into a single use case that's showing integration. There's these kind of things that we might want to discuss about how to kind of lay out the directory structure or everything is just top level, right? But let's do that offline.
I would suggest to create another Git room for these. I'm not sure if called samples just for this repository, but for this specific activity.
Git what?
A Git room, chat room.
Oh, okay.
I would like to treat all this activity as another specification. It's not in fact a specification, but it's an activity, which is very similar because it has some people who are working together towards
yep.
a global.
Okay, that's doable. You want to take an AI on that?
Yeah, just if you write it down, please.
Yep. Okay. Next step typically is any kind of spec updates, things that people are thinking about in terms of updating their specs or potentially even proposing new specs. So let's move to kind of the second feature. Yeah.
I just like from last week, I think is you were contacted my email. I created the MicroProfile service mesh. This new repository to discuss the MicroProfile programming module and still kind of service mesh ecosystem. So Monday this week we had work group meetup. Got Cesar, Scott, and also Mike Croft, me and Ima still guy. So we meet up and create some issues. So we will actually the people take some ownership for the issues and go ahead to do some investigation. So also I put some update on the MicroProfile mailing list. So anybody can feel free to raise issues or share any ideas and etc. So this is the kind of also is good things and there's more still people will join because they see this MicroProfile is going to work for them. Because I said this is kind of bi-directional playground as such. So you still want some app to add some capabilities so that you still can do their job, such as the open tracing. Like MicroProfile is the ideal place to add the tracing header. So they have some other requirement. So this is great. So we will be able to start to document some basic ecosystem, and then going forward we will influence the still design and vice versa. So you still will influence the future update in individual specs.
So I know from a Red Hat perspective, Scott Stark will kind of be leading, our involvement in this working group. Last week we were all traveling, so Scott may not have. I'm not sure if Scott was in that.
No, Scott was there.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah, Scott was there. Cesar was there as well.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
the one thing I just want to make sure of is that, when we began talking about this, now I know there's some of us are very involved in Istio, but I think the working group isn't necessarily specific to Istio. Is that correct?
correct. So basically,
Okay.
we take a Istio example. Basically, we based on Istio, but not only limited to Istio.
Okay.
So that's why we call the repo is service mesh. So
Okay.
we design something is work with any service mesh architecture, such as link ERD or some other service mesh model. So it's
Okay. Okay. Are there any other updates to any other specifications that folks would like to talk to? Anything in the works? Okay. So let's move on to marketing updates. So I think Cesar, you're on, and Teresa, both.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Let me look at my notes here. All right, so going from yesterday, going from bottom to top and the minutes. Let's see, we discussed a MicroProfile white paper. And had talked about farming that out to an independent freelancer writer. The name that had been mentioned before as a person, as a potential author, was Lars Rokamp. And Stephanie from Eclipse had, actually Ian, I think, he had already reached out to him and copied Stephanie and Mike. They were still waiting for an answer from Lars. So if I remember correctly, Amelia said he was going to ping him, make sure that he replies. He probably is busy or traveling or something. That's why he hasn't replied yet. We talked about possible writers in case he's too busy or doesn't have the cycles to do this. Alex Thieden was one of the names that came up. David Heffelfinger was another name that came up, as well as firms like Catavolt or RT Insights, as well as Raider Communications. So that's ongoing. Let's see, I had an action item to go ahead and templatize the announcement, I guess, post that we put out every time there is a MicroProfile release. So that's done. I sent it out for review to the marketing subgroup. If you guys want to look at it, you all have access to the marketing Google group, right?
Yes, I think so.
So yeah, it's open. So if you go there, you'll see the latest yesterday's message. There's a message there. Actually, it was today's. There's an entry there that gives you the links if you want to look, or if you just go to the marketing drive, you'll see it under where, under the directory content, I believe. No, under the releases. In fact, let me just paste this here in the chat.
I said it.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Teresa. What else? Let me see. So let's go back to the notes. So that's that. And the purpose of that is, now that it's all documented, any that can do it, can type up the template, use the template to type out the announcement, and then I'll take all the steps that are necessary to for the announcement to go out, make it public, as well as broadcast that through different social media channels, as well as updating the landing page on the microprofile.io site. Let's see. There's an interesting, we discussed this, so actually Stephanie pasted an interesting link. There was a radio, top of a radio show, or and then Mike and Milinkovic participated in it, and the link is in the minutes of the, I can paste that too, in the minutes of the call, where he talks about the latest status of E4J and talks about MicroProfile and all that. So that was an interesting broadcast to listen to. As far as the t-shirts for DevNexus 2018 that is coming up in 3 weeks, they are being produced right now, as I understand it, and they will be brought to the conference. I think David and Amelia are going to bring the t-shirts to the conference. We're still asking for more folks that want to participate and contribute to the expenses for the production of the t-shirts.
Is that
right
still
now,
just the two of us?
Right?
That's still just the two of us dividing the shirts?
I think IBM is going to contribute too.
Right. So that was I was going to say, yeah. So far, as far as funding, Red Hat, IBM, and Hazelcast have come forward to offer, and Tommy Tribe, to offer, to contribute towards the expense.
Right, that's good.
And yeah, and as far as I know, no one else has come forward besides us.
There's a lot of logos on those shirts, so
Yeah.
maybe we should maybe, you know, be a little bit more upfront with people about covering those costs or considering removing their logo from the future prints of the shirts.
It's a good idea.
You know, phrased like that, they might feel a little bit more compelled to put up some of the marketing efforts.
Right. I agree. I know that Stephanie sent out again an email this morning. Requesting one more time to fill out the e-form if anybody wanted to contribute more money. Let me see. What was that?
There's also a slot missing for the demo or presentation of the booth. I think they're still looking for one more filler.
Oh, was that 9 o'clock to 10? I for that one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, IBM apparently has a new marketing person or main contact for MicroProfile. Her name is Tanya Ray Moore, and we need to include her. We're gonna need her email to include her in the mailing lists. And there's a short of the. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, was Amy going to provide that to you, or are you still asking for it?
If you can give it to me, that'd be great. Amelia insisted that it be done through the e-form, which is fine too, but either way will work. And, there's a spreadsheet that we update with all these contacts. So what else? Let me see. Then there's also the MicroProfile data sheet that we need to finalize. It needs to be updated and it needs to be printed. IBM did this last time for Java 1, so we still need to figure out how we're going to do that. I was exchanging some emails with Amy, and she mentioned last time she just printed them at some local printer over at during Java 1. So we need to figure out how we're going to do that. But again, it needs to be updated. There is a file in PDF format, I think, that we got from Amy last time. Is there any way that we can get the original file from you guys, from IBM, for the data sheet?
You'd have to talk to Amy. I don't see why not, unless there's something that she wants to retain control of it or pass it on to Tanya. But yeah, I'd ask the two of them. I don't have access to it, so
the file might be in InDesign format. So unless you have an Adobe program, it might be hard to alter it. Right.
Yeah, which I don't. So does anybody on the call have that?
I do.
Okay. Me too.
Can you help with the editing of that file? Let me give you the link. Let's see, that's under data sheets.
We can work on this offline.
Yeah, okay, all right. And what else? Am I for anything, Teresa?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay. So that's the latest thing, guys. Any questions?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, John, you must be on mute.
Yes, I am. Yes, sir. Thanks for the heads up. I didn't go too far down the path there. Is there any backlog? We've got about 7 minutes left. Any backlog that folks would like to talk about?
Okay, I will. I think I brought this up in the past about Eclipse conference. So we have to encourage the community to submit as many talks as possible to make this track worthwhile. So I would like to see a lot of the MicroProfile talks to put forward. So I think is I will try to like reactivate the discussion in the past about the what kind of talks we should put forward, and then start to create a spread. Reuse the previous conference spreadsheet. So I think is as a whole, we should work together to submit as many talks as possible. Otherwise, if we don't submit many talks, eventually that become a Java EE talk and become more like normal Java talk. So we really want to promote a MicroProfile. So I would like anyone to encourage people or submit the talks yourself.
I like David's comments from, I don't remember how long ago, a couple months ago, where he said, let's not basically have a talk on here's a MicroProfile spec and go through all the APIs. It's more use case driven, right? Here's some problem, that we're, this is a general comment, right?
That's exactly the thing. So I'm not asking like put the MicroProfile on your title. Just like make the title as appealing as possible, and then it's like in the subject, in the abstract, etc. You talk about like actually you are using the MicroProfile technologies to solve some real use cases. We really want this kind of code examples and solve the really tricky problems in microservices.
Yep. What's the date of the conference again?
13th, 14th June.
June. Okay. And is it Paris? You said?
Yeah, no, it's Toulouse. It's a really nice area.
Yeah, southern France is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty and nice month as well. It's a really.
Okay.
Have you gotten a lot of abstracts? I'm sorry if I missed that, Emily, already about MicroProfile?
Yeah. Sorry.
Have you gotten a lot of abstracts already for MicroProfile?
No, I haven't checked.
Checked. All right. Well, maybe we might submit something. Over there regarding JWT security.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
We're doing a talk on MicroProfile JWT security and our pending integration with it, which is all that work is in progress at QCon in May. So giving the same talk in June would be not so difficult. And the person who's doing that talk lives in France. So
that's cool.
So you could give it in French or English, whatever one you want.
Wow.
Or you could do it twice, once in French and once in English.
Yeah, that's wonderful. One in French, one in English. Okay, thank you. That's great. I will try to bring back the spreadsheet we used in the past for the conferences. So start to populate that spreadsheet. So we don't do the overlap.
What would you like us to do? You want us to submit to the CFP, or do you want us to put something in a spreadsheet?
Yeah, go ahead to submit to CFP, and also put your title abstract in the spreadsheet.
Okay, could you send me the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I will. Give you the spreadsheet. I will also try to reactivate that thread and then put that link as well.
Okay, yeah, if you can, when you send it, include that email address there, so that way I don't have to forward it over.
Yeah. I thought exactly the same thing. I will put email address there.
Is the spreadsheet available from the website, Eclipse Conference?
No, this is a spreadsheet we used in the past to coordinate conference submissions in MicroProfile. So I just bring it back. Yeah.
Okay. We have 2 minutes left. Is there any last minute comment anyone would like to make? And then I have one quick comment to make. Okay. Okay. 2 quick comments. We are now up to 958 members in the Google group. So let's aim for that 1,000 number. Let's go to 4 digits. And also for the next meeting, the next live hangout, I will not be here. I'll be out traveling.
Woo! Oh,
So I may, yeah, you guys will have quite the productive session, I'm sure. So if someone can kind of host Kevin, since you did such an outstanding job in the past, maybe Kevin can host the next meeting, or unless there's another volunteer.
yeah, that's
Right.
is that the 20th then, right?
Yeah, it's a index
Yeah.
and development this week. I don't think there's many people here anyway.
Yeah, we're all going to be traveling to
Yeah.
Devon. We'll
Me
be
too.
there. So I don't know who would host the call.
I suppose
Okay.
if you want to do a remote one like we did at Java 1.
That would be kind of neat. I'll have to think about. I'll have to go take a look at the time of day and all that, but that might be kind of a neat idea.
Is that why you're going to be gone, John?
No, I will be. Let's see. That week, I will be in Paris for a Verdex community meeting. Hi, Amelia.
Oh,
I say +1 to virtual, being at an event, multiple events. But we might be flying. What day is the next?
Yeah. The Tuesday, the conference starts on the Wednesday, so everyone's traveling on the Tuesday. probably.
Okay.
We are.
Okay. So I'll tell you what. Let's just skip the next meeting. We'll do our best to maintain activity in the Google groups, and leave it at that. Sound good?
I mean, unless Andro, you want to try leading?
You know,
You mean this hangout in 2 weeks?
yep.
I can try.
yeah, and
All right.
9 people here, not all of us are going. I think it would be good to see some.
I hope nobody else is watching on the internet.
That's okay. We're gonna market the heck out of the next live hangout.
Everybody tweet it.
let me just say this. We should never cancel a call because 1 or 5 of us cannot make it. The calls will go even without us. That's
Yeah.
what scalability.
Yeah, agree.
So please, don't do this, Kevin or John. Don't even think about canceling.
Well,
They
All right.
eat out of
Okay.
minds.
so 1, I got to go to my next meeting. 2, I'm going to lose hearing in this ear.
I just want to point out one thing, though, that it was David that suggested that we skip the next meeting.
He is mistaken.
Exactly.
He is mistaken. So I am touching him and all of you who decided to follow him.
That's why I'm hard of hearing.
Okay.
I adore you. Chat soon.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. We're officially 2 minutes over.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Bye.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.